How hard is it to prove constructive discharge? Well, it's a question of fact. So, I don't know. Documentation helps. The best thing you can do as an employee when it comes to your employer and issues like this is just documenting things in writing. Um, because the employer will say we didn't know if they can pretend not to know. So I'll answer your question with an example. And I don't know the degree to which this is accurate or not, but or answering your question, but it's the best I can do. Um, let's suppose that you're suffering sexual harassment at work, you know, from a fellow employee or from a manager, whatever the case may be. Okay. So you go to your supervisor or maybe your supervisor, as the case may be, and be like, I'm being harassed sexually at work. All right, here's what's probably going to happen. You're probably going to get a call from HR on the phone. Why are you getting a call? Because they don't want a written trail, right? They don't want a written trail of the thing because then be like, we didn't know, we had no idea, right? And how are you going to prove it? I had a conversation with HR. We have no idea what you're talking about. That isn't what the conversation was, whatever issue, right? So, or your employer tells you to do something. Like, here's another example. Let's suppose your employer tells you to do something and you think like this is a problem. Like I shouldn't be doing this thing. And this would like lead to me being fired if I do this thing, right? So let's suppose your employer tells you to do a thing and you're like, if I do this thing, I'm going to be fired. And your employer's like, do it or you're going to get fired. But if you do it, you will get fired. So what's going to happen, right? Your employer will be like, I never told them to do that. They misunderstood my directions. They misunderstood what I said. Here's the way to solve this problem. Okay. It's actually relatively simple. All right. Anytime you have an oral conversation like this, you do what we call the memo to file. Right? It's basically easy. What you do is you create an email. First of all, have the conversation orally. Have the conversation orally. So don't, if HR calls you, take the call. If your employer gives you a demand to do a stupid thing, have the conversation. As soon as that conversation is over, as soon as practical, right? It doesn't have to be immediate, but you want it to be as soon as possible. So immediate would be preferable. Later that day would be preferable. Sometime that day would be preferable, right? What you do is you immediately create an email. Emails are great for this purpose, all right? You email whoever you had the conversation with and whoever needs to know. So like, for example, if you had a conversation with HR, you see, first of all, the email goes to the person at HR. So it goes to the person on the call. Was other people on the call? Was your supervisor on the call? Who was on the call? So first of all, you write the email to everyone who was on the call. That's category one, everyone who was on the call. Category number two is anyone else who needs to know. So like, for example, if you made the original complaint to your supervisor, you CC them on the email, right? Because that's who you originally brought the issue to, right? And all you do is you give your best recitation in pure fact of what happened, okay? No drama, no emotion, just pure fact, all right? As best as you're able to. Like, and so it can be something like, at approximately 2:30 p.m., I received a phone call from this person. Now you're CCing them, you're writing it to them, but you just put their name in, right? At approximately 2:30 p.m. on this date, I received a phone call from this person. Also present on the call were this person, this person, and this person. During the call was concerning insert issue. During the call, person X said fill in the blank. Person Y said fill in the blank. Person Z said fill in the blank. I said this. Person X said this. I said this. Person Z said this. I said this. And then, so you just basically recite it as basically as close as you can with as close to the words they actually used as possible, right? Just give it, this is basically this is a contemporaneous written record is what we're accomplishing. A contemporaneous written record, which is always good for getting around hearsay issues, by the way, as well. It's a contemporaneous written record. Here's what blah, 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 blah. And then you end the email with, like, here is my understanding, right? Here's my understanding. To the extent that you were given direction, it's like, here is my understanding. My understanding is that you have directed me to do X, Y, Z. I am going to do this, blah, 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 or it's my understanding that, or if it's like a complaint to them. So if it's like your boss gave you a directions, like, my understanding is you want me to do X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. And then you finish the email with the line, please let me know as soon as possible if my understanding is not correct. Sincerely yours, blah, blah, blah. Or if they're the one doing something because you raised a complaint, it's my understanding that you are now starting an investigation. It is my understanding that you are now looking into this issue. It is my understanding that, this, and that you will follow up with me. Whatever the understanding is, like, again, just factual. What is your actual understanding? And then you finish the line with, you finish it with, if this is not correct, please contact me. Okay? And you send it off, again, to anyone you had the call with, anyone who is on that call, anyone else who needs to know. So all the people are on the call, and your supervisor or your supervisor, as the case may be. All right. And then, if you get a respond email, which, you probably won't, if you get a respond email, then great. If you get a respond phone call, which is much more likely, whatever, then you just do it again, right? So whatever you just do it again. If you get HR gives you a call, it's like, hey, what's the point of this email? If the HR says, what's the point of this email? I just want to document my understanding. Make sure everything was clear. Like, we don't really do that around here. We don't really do written emails. It's like, we don't want you to do that again. Okay. We don't do written emails around here. We want everything to be, you are forbidden from sending another email. Okay. What do? You send an email. Of course you do. Right? You called me at 4:45 p.m. During this call, you said, during this call, person X was on the call from HR, said, we don't really do written emails around here. We don't really do this. We want more stuff. It's during the call you said, I am forbidden from sending other emails about this issue in the future. It is therefore my understanding that I'm not allowed to send emails about this. Per your instruction. If this is correct, please let me know. Sincerely yours, blah, blah, blah. And if you get another call, what do? Another email. And just do it. Just keep sending the emails. And you CC yourself, by the way, as well. CC your own private account, or BCC your own private email account, so that you have a record of this, just in case you get fired. And then, like, if you get fired or whatever, you have a nice written record of what happened. So that's how you solve all those problems. The memo to file is the best protection known to man. Whatever it is, your employer wants you to do a stupid thing, document. And that wasn't what I told him to do. I didn't tell him to do that. That wasn't my order. Document, man. It saved my ass before, let me tell you what. It has saved my ass before. There was a time when I wanted to do something at work that I knew was going to create a problem. I knew I was allowed to do it, but I knew it was going to create a problem. So what did I do? I did all this in advance, right? I'm like, okay. I went to my employer. I went to my boss's boss in this. I'm like, I'm letting you know in advance. I am going to do this. Here's all the reasons I'm allowed to do this. Here's the policy. Here's every policy that applies. Here's every rule that applies on this issue. And I am doing this. And I spoke to general counsel about it, and I spoke to everyone about it, and I document. And then I went and did the thing, and someone complained, and I'm like, already got it approved. And I never heard from them ever again.